What's up, everybody? Eric here with my first review of 2024. It's one of the last movies that came out in 2023. This is the review for Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. Before we get into that, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, let me know what you want me to review next. But yeah, guys, this is the first review, and I will admit I am not excited to do this one. This is one where, this movie, guys. I've had to rewatch it multiple times. But we'll talk more about that in a little bit. So yeah, this is Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. This is a space opera film. Very much this was hyped up to be like the new age Star Wars. Does it live up to it? Gotta wait and see. And this will be a spoiler-free review. The rating of this film is PG-13 and it had two release dates. One for its small theatrical run on December 15, 2023, and then it came to Netflix on December 21st, 2023, with a budget of $166 million. Now, that being said, this is a Netflix movie, so they can easily... it's not like they'll have a box office. I don't have anything for that. It's a little bit different on how they get these numbers. I don't actually know how it works, but I'm sure this movie is doing well in terms of how people are watching it. So, the director of this film is Zack Snyder, and we've heard a lot about that. This is going to be the big thing everyone's talking about. It's like, oh, once Part 2 comes out, we get to see the Snyder Cut. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit, but that's just... I don't like that idea of like, oh yeah, I can't wait for this Snyder Cut. It's like, well, can you give me a good cut to begin with? Alright, but... sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Alright, and the cast includes Sofia Boutella, Ed Skrein, Mikael Huisman, Charlie Hunnam, Bae Doona, and Anthony Hopkins. It has a runtime of 134 minutes, so it's on the longer side, but we know this is Part 1 and Part 2, and Zack Snyder likes making his 4-hour epics. I watched this on streaming because I couldn't find this in theaters. Also, I was too busy that week to even go watch it in theaters. And this does not have a post-credit scene, but the last scene in the movie does give you a hint of where we're going to in the new one. So let's start off with the plot here. So when a colony, and I didn't write this down, when a colony on the edge of the galaxy finds itself threatened by the armies of the tyrannical regent Balisarius, they dispatch a young woman with a mysterious past to seek out warriors from neighboring planets to help them take a stand. Now, that sounds very similar to Star Wars, if I'm being honest, and like I said, it's going to be very similar to Star Wars if we're talking about this, being serious about it. So let's go now into my thoughts on the film, and again, this is going to be spoiler-free, but I need to start off with me being full disclosure. I had to watch this movie 3 times because I fell asleep every time. The last time I kind of just skipped to the end because I was like, that was the part I was like, what happened in the end? And rewatching, I was like, oh yeah, this is why I fell asleep. This was kind of boring. I got bored during the film, guys. I'll be honest. I didn't find it that fascinating. Right now, I'm already going to tell you, I don't recommend you go watch this film. This, to me, was not fun. And let me go into a little Zack Snyder cut, because everyone's all saying, oh, the Snyder cut, the Snyder cut, the Snyder cut. If you need 4 hours to tell your story, then you don't have a good story to tell if you need all 4 hours and you can't split it up and make each part good. I'm even thinking about recent movies like Dead Reckoning Part 1. I thought Dead Reckoning Part 1 was great. Like, oh, what we got there, I thought was really good. This, no, I was bored the entire time. I was just like, what the hell is this? There are some good parts here, but like parts, not necessarily the whole thing. And with Zack Snyder, I always think about Justice League when everyone's like, oh, the Snyder cut. But it's also, we never got to see his cut of the film, the theatrical cut of his version of the film. We got to see Joss Whedon's, but at the same time, looking at the Snyder cut of Justice League, I don't know how you could ever make that into a 2-hour film that people would still call good. And to me, it's always like, his only way of telling a story is making it super long, that I'm sure when Part 2 comes out, that's not even going to be they're not even going to just put out a regular version of both of them combined. They're going to have to make another version that's probably going to be 5 or 6 hours long, and they're going to call that one the definitive cut. And it's going to be like, why does it take you so long to tell a story? Make this stuff shorter. Your audience is... We don't really want to watch movies that are super, super long. I can tell you that because most people I know that saw the Snyder cut of Justice League didn't watch it in one sitting. Most people split it up. I ended up splitting it up into like 4 1-hour sittings because it was just like, this is too much. So that's one of my things. I just don't like movies that are super long. You guys know that about me. And this movie felt like it didn't really accomplish anything to me. Like, even by the end, I'm like, so we're kind of in the same place that we left them, like where we started. We're not really anywhere new. And then there's things in here that are very Snyder things that I don't like. Like, the slow motion is over overdone to the point where I'm just like, every action scene here is ruined from slow motion because each one has it, and it's just like, oh, that's really cool. They're doing some stuff, but they all do slow mo. It's like, you kind of ruined it. You don't need to do slow mo. Some battles had slow mo multiple times. It's just like, you don't need to do so much slow mo. If you need slow mo to make it look cool, then you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. Figure something else to do. It was overdone so much. And another thing is, okay, this movie is definitely trying to be Star Wars. I don't disagree with that at all. I can understand why you want to make it Star Wars. But what makes you a good version of Star Wars? I can't find it in this film. There was nothing about this film that I thought like, oh yeah, Star Wars could have never done that. I mean, they're both PG-13. I mean, I want to say most of the Star Wars films are PG-13, and it's like, you didn't have any action that Star Wars couldn't have had. Like, so what was the point? Like, all you did was you showed more violence. And even then, it wasn't even that great. Like, oh, you had more gun stuff. And it's like, instead of lightsabers. And it's just like, you didn't really understand the essence of what makes Star Wars Star Wars. And they even have some scenes that are like, very much, you copied Star Wars. You're not even trying to hide it that you're copying Star Wars. That happened a few times in the film, and it was kind of annoying. They do some other stuff that it is ripping off other movies that I did thought were good, but we'll talk about that in the good section. But to me, it was like, what you thought you were trying to do with Star Wars, it just didn't work. Let's even move on to something about like the mother world in this. Like, we get that in the Empire is supposed to be like similar to like the Nazis and stuff like that, but it wasn't super on the nose. I was like, I can see where you're coming with it, but not exactly that. Here it's like, it's very on the nose. It is the Nazis. Even their uniforms are just like, okay. I mean, you could have tried something else to make it a little bit more unique, but nope, they went right with it. It's like, okay. And then, like I said, by the end of the film, you're kind of like, so what did we really accomplish? Because we kind of feel like we're in the exact same spot by the end that we were at the beginning. And that even goes with the final battle. It just comes out of nowhere. It doesn't feel like it's really set up that well. It just happens. And they want us to care about all these warriors that they kind of just collected. But it's like, but you didn't give us the time to really like be happy and get to know each one like together as a group. It's like, oh, you're already putting them in battle. It's like, why did that happen so quickly? It's like, especially when you're making this long ass movie, it's like, you could have timed that better. Like, there's stuff at the beginning of the film that I'm like, you could have taken this out and we get kind of the same feel, and you could have added some cool stuff later in the film. It's, again, the whole Snyder thing. It's like, a lot of times he adds stuff that I'm just like, why is this here? This seems so useless, and it's not really helping the story. And then by the end, like I said, you don't feel anything. Like, right now, I'm like, I'm probably going to watch part 2, but I don't care. It's like, this was probably one of the most overhyped films of 2023, and it was bad. It was just like, wow, that was not fun to watch. Even the stuff that I thought was like, oh, that's really cool. It's like, no, there's other stuff like from that year. I'll put it this way. I'd rather go watch Aquaman 2 again than have to sit through this again. And like I said, I had to watch it 3 times for this review. I'm not going to watch this movie again. Because it's like, even when it comes down to remembering what happens for the next part, I'm just like, I'm just gonna go on YouTube. It's like a 5-minute thing that explains it, and I'll be good there, because it really wasn't anything compelling. But let's actually move on to the good, because I've been very negative. Visually, it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It's beautiful visually. I like what they created. That's all cool. That's what I expect from a 2023 film. And one thing they beat Star Wars in, and I'll give them this, they built their female lead so much better than Star Wars. So let's talk about one thing with Star Wars. Yes, I know with Rey. Let's move on to the newest Star Wars. Rey. Rey's a cool character, and I like Rey. Do they really explain why she was already really good with the lightsaber? Why is she so powerful with the Force and is able to use it so easily? Like, it was all so much that I was just like, okay, yeah, even if she has that talent, how is she able to do everything so perfectly to start? And here they build their character a little bit better, and you understand, oh, this is why she can do everything that she can do, and it all makes sense in that story. So I was like, I like how they built their female lead way better than Star Wars did. And then the recruitment of the warriors for this film, it's very Seven Samurai. And although I don't like what they do right after they recruit them, while they're recruiting them, I thought that was really cool. It's probably the highlight of the film. If only more of the film would have been that, I think they would have been on a better road. This reminds me a lot of, what was that movie? Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the first one of those films, where it was like when you actually showed when they actually showed them catching the beast and stuff like that. That was the fun part of the film, but sadly, it wasn't the whole film. It was everything else that dragged it down. That's how I felt with this film as well. Getting the group together was cool, but everything else beyond that, before I don't even think we start recruiting them to like close to the midpoint, and it was like we only spent like a good 30 minutes getting them together. Whereas like maybe you could have spent more time there rather than the rest of the stuff. Those are just some of my thoughts, guys. And I really don't have that much other good stuff to say. Maybe I'm just blocking it out. But let's actually move on to my score. And on my 1 to 10 scale, I'm giving this a 3 out of 10 for awful. This was not fun. This is something that I was close to giving this painful. But I was just like, I wasn't enjoying any of this really. Like, other than those, like, the recruitment stuff. But like I said, I've seen this in better form before. It's like, I didn't feel it. So I definitely don't recommend you go watch this, guys. You're better off watching something else. When part 2 comes out, I'm probably going to watch it. I'll let you know what happens there, but yeah. My next review, and I'm hoping to get this one out by Friday. I know I said last Friday I'd have this out, but it's going to be the South Park Not Suitable for Children. I'm going to write up my script right now after this review's done. And yeah, I hope to get that out. That one should be a lot more positive than this review, guys. Sorry that I'm starting off the year with a negative, but I don't control what I watch. Alright, guys. Well, actually, no, I do control what I watch. I don't control how good what I watch is. Wow, I've been out of practice with this stuff, but yeah. The South Park one will be a lot more positive, guys. I'll tell you right now, you're definitely going to want to watch that special. Alright, guys, talk to you later.